Well, as you can see here, I've got a guest, and it's our very first guest on the Man Cave Talks. And I couldn't think of anybody more appropriate than an old friend of mine who has done very, very well for himself. He's he's kind of a guy. Matter of fact, you can't turn on a cartoon from the last 30, 40 years and not find his name somewhere in the credits. Ladies and gentlemen, I speak, of course, of my friend Rob Paulsen. How are you, Rob?
Hello, Jeff. I figured I'd get that out of the way just in case I expire during, because I am old. I am your old friend. People don't know this. I was the entertainment at the Last Supper. I think you may remember that. You were a busboy there.
Yes.
I was Shecky of Arimathea in those days, and Jesus, what a party that was. But
yes.
No, man, thank you. Honestly, this really is, your fans know how wonderful you are, but I've had the good fortune of knowing you and your fabulous brothers and sister and your beautiful mom and dad for a long time. And I know that the latter two have gone to that great recording facility in the sky like my folks, but to be able to maintain a friendship this long with someone who also has done pretty damn well. We're pretty lucky guys, aren't we?
Well, yeah, I consider myself lucky. I was just sitting there counting my money yesterday.
Yeah.
And that took me about 5 minutes. And, but yeah, so fortunate. But I was thinking about the old days.
Yeah.
We would get down, and my dad had a recording studio in the basement. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of state of the art for the time.
Oh my God, over there in Ottawa Hills.
But we'd get down there in the basement and we would play, and it kind of turned into a show called Buffalo Dick's Radio Ranch, where we started out doing voices on that. And then you left me and went to California.
Yeah, I was running from the IRS.
I've got them on hold here. They wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, Mr. Paulsen, okay. Put in a couple extra zeros to the left of the decimal point and we'll talk to you. No, well, that was a very big deal because I ended up doing cartoons pretty much that's all I've been doing for the last 30 years. And I went to LA ostensibly with your brother, by the way, with your handsome, one of your older brothers, Robert Lamb. And he was kind enough to make the trip out there with me, and we got set up and hung out in LA for a while. And
by the way, you just said Robert Lamb, and everybody's thinking he's in Chicago. No,
right?
No, different Robert Lamb.
We're talking about the more handsome, sweeter, kinder, more talented Robert Lamb, the Bob Lamb from Ottawa Hills and Grand Blanc High School. Right. Yeah. But I went out there your brother Bob is a writer, and I went out there ostensibly to do what I was expected to do. I was a singer first and became an actor and was on the road doing theater for a while. But I was living that axiom, or I did live that axiom ultimately, that luck is when opportunity meets preparation. Although I didn't go out there to do, Yacko and Pinky and all those other critters.
Now let's, for just a second, for people that may not know all the voices that you do, let's cover a few of them here because there's plenty.
I'm 50% of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and one old guy from Grand Blanc, Michigan. I was Raphael when all of you who are watching, Jeff, were not even born, which is pretty disturbing. So I was Raphael in the original Turtles, and then I got to be Donatello on another iteration a few years later on Nickelodeon, the 2012 version. So I have two Turtles. If I live to be 100, I can knock them all out. Yacko Warner from Animaniacs, and we're enjoying a nice little reboot on Hulu. Thank you, Mr. Spielberg. A spin-off of that show called Pinky and the Brain, in which I portray the stupid half of the equation, which is undoubtedly typecasting. Ask Jeff, he'll tell you. And Carl Weeser from Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. And I got to be the Mask on an animated version of The Mask for CBS, and once I was Jim Carrey for a whole lot less money. Rick and Morty, I play a character named Snowball, whose first lines were, "Where are my testicles, Summer?" And having been married for many years, I know precisely where, But yeah, it is a lovely way to move through life. If you can't be Jeff Lamb, the next best thing is to be a poor man's version of Jeff Lamb, and you're looking at him. So
yeah, exactly. Now, you were also, weren't you, Toodles?
I was. I can't tell you how many people were. In fact, I'm between autograph things. This last weekend I was in Atlanta, and this coming week I'm in Hartford. And the number of folks who come up, let me back up a little bit. You know this as well as I, Jeff. When you're fortunate enough to have been in a gig that you chose to be in, I mean, you're in radio, that's a tough gig, but you've been doing it a long time. And when you create things, because our celebrity is tangential, that is to say, I don't draw them and I don't write them. The characters are famous, and I'm fine with that. However, I've gotten to a place now where I've been around for so long that people start to pay attention to who does what. But honestly, I'm sure it's happened to you where you'll meet someone and they'll go, "Oh my God, you were the voice of dot dot dot," or "I listened to you on Buffalo Dick when I was in junior high, and that made such an impression," and all that. And it's the same thing with Toodles. I work a lot for Disney. Most of my Disney stuff was in the Disney afternoon years ago. Goof Troop, Darkwing Duck, Chip and Dale, Gummy Bears, all that stuff. But in the last, I don't know, it was 10 or 12 years ago, I did this character, Toodles, on Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Well, it's funny because I can't tell you how many times I've watched the Mickey Mouse Club with my granddaughter. She comes to the house, TV, that's wallpaper, baby. It's
that's right.
It's Minnie Mouse or Mickey Mouse. And I've never heard Toodles speak. But my daughter says, Toodles is Rob Paulsen.
Yeah.
Said, really?
Yeah. So I was Toodles, and oh my God, I seriously get paid to do what used to get me in trouble in 7th grade, just like Jeffrey.
Well, I'm just hearing you rattle off these names of your day at the office, and it's not the typical day at the office, to sit there and pinch your throat and do voices.
I have been profoundly fortunate. But honestly, truly, buddy, the best part of it is this: getting a chance to catch up with old friends. And then every one of these events that I travel to, this is the only time where I get tongue-tied. I truly don't know how to quantify the compliments I receive every time. The characters, it's not false modesty. I'm really good at my job, but I don't draw them and I don't write them. However, because the actor or the voice conveys the soul of the character, I'm telling you what, Jeff, the kind things I hear from people who have grown up watching this stuff, virtually all of them have nice things to say about, "Oh my God, you're the voice of my childhood," and all these shows were connected our family, just like my family and I used to watch Rocky and Bullwinkle and Looney Tunes, and no different.
Well, now, in all fairness, too, people say nice things about you because you're a nice guy. I remember not only did you drive all the way from Flint when you were in town visiting one time, relatives there, you drove all the way to Toledo in the morning to do a guest shot on our show. And then as soon as we finished the show, you said, "Hey, can we run to a Ronald McDonald House? I understand there's one here in Toledo." So we got in the car, we went to Ronald McDonald House, and you talked to a bunch of kids and did all kinds of, probably made a donation when I wasn't looking. But that's just the kind of guy you are, and you make time for me. And I just saw a picture of you with Garner out there. And
how about that? Veg, yeah.
Yeah, you guys, but you make time for friends, and you remember where you came from and who you knew, and that's nice.
Well, and honestly though, you would do the same, and shame on us if we didn't. I'm really grateful that I grew up back there. I really am. In fact, my wife and I talk often about, she's from a small town in North Carolina, and I'm from back there, and our son was born and reared in Los Angeles, which is a completely different animal, as you guys, I'm sure, can understand. And the number of times that we have said to one another, "Man, how did our kid not end up in rehab a couple of times?" Nope. The worst thing happened to him is he got a speeding ticket in Hollywood. That is a big deal. And I guarantee you that my childhood, having been in Michigan, in which I had an extended family, your parents treated me, and I would submit a lot of other friends of yours, just like one of their own when I was over there. And there's no way in a million years that I could forget that. And of course, Bill and Bob and Becky, honestly, and not just me, but all of those experiences really helped to sort of keep my ass on the straight and narrow. I can't tell you how many times that I probably had circumstances in which I said, I don't know if I should be doing this. And it sounds kind of silly, but it wasn't. And so now to be in a position where I I have, still have, thank God, friends like you and Steve Gardner and all our other buddies, who are most of whom are still alive and kicking. And the fact is, we're closer to the end than the beginning. I don't
I
want to
know.
miss the opportunities. I love this chance to get to chat with you because it also reminds me of how fortunate I was to have people like you and your family in my life. And that's not hyperbole, man. I'm a very blessed fellow. And it's not, and it happened long before I got to Hollywood.
Yeah.
So it's a cool thing.
Okay, Rob, let me interrupt for just 1 second. I've got a special guest standing by, someone who is just in your audience, and they've been in your audience for years. Big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. Her room was decorated with Ninja Turtles. It's my daughter, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah. How are you? Oh my gosh, look at you. Goodness gracious. How lovely are you? It is such a pleasure to see you, Sarah. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Well, I am breathing. I'm not in jail, but the day's not over yet. Um, Ask Jeffrey. He'll tell you, we both, you probably should know that about your dad.
Well, we
But
always
yeah,
carry bail money for the other one.
yes, we do. And so it is such a pleasure. My goodness. The only thing I can tell you is it's really not fair. Could you just leave a little cute for the rest of the girls? It's just not fair. I
She's
know
all
Jeffrey
hoed up.
tells you that all the time, but it's just truly. So thank you very much, by the way. I have had, I believe, the good fortune of speaking to you, at least on the phone before. And thank you so much for being so lovely with respect to your entertainment and Ninja Turtles. I'm glad you like the Turtles.
Yeah, love them.
You have I mean, obviously, this is a loaded question. Do you have a favorite turtle, Sarah?
I like Donnie and
Okay,
Mike.
fair enough. That's
They're
good
both
because I got to be Donnie for a long time, and I can tell you that. Look what happens. All I got to do is do this. Look at that beautiful girl's face. I just have to start talking a little bit like Donatello and say something like, "He's got me by the face, Mikey, by the face." And look at her. Isn't that the greatest thing in the world? Honestly, that Jeffrey and Sarah, I can tell you categorically, is the best part of my gig. It has nothing to do with anything but pure joy. So thank you, Sarah.
All right, 4 questions. What do you have?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the main thing I'm concerned about is, do you have a favorite movie at all?
Any movie?
Any movie.
Oh yes, Doctor Strangelove. Yes, I would be concerned about that too if I couldn't answer you. Yes, Doctor Strangelove is my favorite movie of all time because I'm a big Peter Sellers fan. He was a hugely, in addition to Jeff Lamb, was hugely inspirational and informative in and informative in forming my performance sensibilities. Peter Sellers is right up there. But yes, so what about you? What's your favorite movie of all time?
Halloween. Michael
Oh,
Myers.
good choice. A love story. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's got a Michael Myers head on top of a refrigerator.
Yeah. Mom,
Brilliant.
Dad, I'd like to meet Michael. He's not living, but he's my boyfriend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now then, what's the next question, madam?
What made you get into voice acting?
Well, nothing made me. I think it's important for people to, and I'm sure Jeff has talked about this. When you're a performer of any kind, whether you do radio, television, theater, I don't know of anyone, maybe Jeffrey because his father was a world-class broadcaster, but there are very few people who do what we do that are forced by their parents or somebody makes you be an actor. This was my choice. Mind you, my choice was not necessarily to be a voice guy. My choice was to go to LA to ply my trade in the usual way, music, uh, acting, and that's what I was doing. I was doing episodic television. In my case, it was MacGyver and St. Elsewhere and, oh, I don't know, Love American Style and Amazing Stories and a pile of on-camera commercials, half a dozen movies, a lot of music. But then after I'd been in LA for a while, the opportunity presented itself to do animation. And honestly, Sarah, I just wanted to work. But the first thing I noticed was that I walked into the first cartoons I did were G.I. Joe and Transformers. And I walked into a room and saw a bunch of actors whom Jeff and his family and I and my family grew up watching on episodic television. And they're all in this room and they are utterly unlimited by the way they look. It wasn't about anything except pure creativity. Literally what Jeff and I used to do in his dad's basement. Exactly the same thing. And I thought, oh, now you're talking, because I'm not limited by being an average looking kid from Michigan. There were a million kids that looked like me. I was only limited by my talent and by the kindness of people to hire me. And now that I'm old enough to be your grandpa, they still don't care what I look like.
Well,
As long as I can.
You went out there to be an actor, and
I
you
did.
would go on these calls, and God bless you, you were blonde. So they were looking for a brunette, so you didn't get in. They were looking for somebody tall, somebody short, somebody whatever.
That's the way it goes. And so what I
worked.
did learn is that acting is acting, whether it's with your voice or your body or your face or whatever. The reason people love Bugs and Daffy and The Simpsons is because the actors who portray those characters are really goddamn good actors. And of course, it is not just about the actor. It's about world-class artists, storyboard artists, musicians. All of it conspires to make a good cartoon. So what made me get into cartoons was this opportunity that I was presented. And I'm grateful that I had this sort of ego that says, look, I'd be lying if I said I don't like it when Sweet Sarah makes a fuss over me. That I do. It's wonderful. But it is not what drives me. What drives me is being creative. And to be able to do it now, and I'm still not limited by anything but my creativity, I can work till I die, literally. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that. So you probably know this, and I know Jeffrey does. When you're able to find a way to get paid anything, to do something that you would probably do for free, it's a remarkable thing, Sarah. So I'm a really
Keep
lucky
that
guy.
down, though, or they will start lowering your
I know.
paychecks.
I'm sorry. Yeah, edit that piece out.
Yeah.
Jeff would do it for free. I won't.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have been doing it for free. I'm doing it totally wrong. Right. All right. Give me one more question, Do.
Okay. What advice do you have for somebody who wants to get into acting?
Get into acting. And I'm not being coy. Just start. I started. Let me put it this way. The reason that Jeff and I and his brother Bob got involved in doing radio productions, or sound productions, as Bob used to call them, down in Mr. Lamb's basement, was for no other reason than it made our souls happy. Period. End of story. We did it to be creative. We cracked each other up. We thought maybe we can crack other people up. And we did. And Jeff took it to a completely different level with his radio stuff. And it is still the same way. So I can guarantee you, Sarah, and I know this because all my friends, Billy West, Maurice LaMarche, Frank Welker, Peter Cullen, Nancy Cartwright, Dan Castellaneta, Hank Azaria, all these people are wonderful actors. None of us, without exception, none of us started doing what we ended up doing for a living because we thought we'd get rich doing it. None of us. The odds that I'm here talking with your dad and we're both in a position in which we made our living doing this are astronomical. They really are. We might as well have tried to be in the NBA. I mean, it's really that unique to be able to make your living doing this. But what you do is you just jump in. And all we had, it sounds like I'm being an old guy, and I am, but we had a world-class recording system. Mr. Lamb was very generous to allow us to play with that stuff. And of course, Jeff and Bob knew how to run it. But now you've got, my God, on your phone, you've got an HD camera, a little recording device. It sounds pretty good. You can get together. You're a beautiful young woman. You get together with other talented folks, and then you put it out on YouTube for free.
How about that?
You can get your stuff out there for free. And I'm telling you what, Sarah, I have worked with people in LA who made their way to Los Angeles with a production deal in their hands because they grew up in Minot, South Dakota, came up with a great idea. And by the time they got to Hollywood, they had 500 million views of their goofy animated show. Any studio guy or girl with a pulse is going to talk to somebody who has 500 million views. And the point of it all is there's never been a time in which creative young people can jump right in. You can sing in church. You can put together improv groups with your family or your friends, not unlike what Jeff and Bob and I did. We all did it.
Bob and I
now,
were talking about, I can't tell how many times we've talked about
oh
how
my
much
God.
fun we would have had with YouTube and TikTok
Oh,
and all these venues that are out there right now. And
it's
now
crazy.
you go on there and it's like, oh, it's somebody's grandpa. No, I'm not going to watch that. Click, swipe, swipe, swipe. But yeah, back in the day, we would have been
Oh my
contenders
God.
on that thing, huh?
Right. And so when Bob and I moved to LA, I had gone about as far as I could go doing what I was doing in Michigan. So time to go to LA. It wasn't like I was terribly courageous. I had my buddy to go out with me, and there was no real other choice. Now, I mean, it's very expensive to live in LA now or New York. But before you go, you can practice all day long and put your stuff out there and see if people respond. Find out what they don't respond to. See what they like. Oh my God, I got 1,000 thumbs up on this one. This part they didn't like so much. And you can build up your confidence. You can find new ways to be creative. Or you may say, you know what? I really enjoy being creative for its own sake. I've decided I'm going to go to school and become an attorney, but boy, do I love to perform. So I'm going to get together with my buddies, and on the weekends, we're going to create stuff for its own sake, maybe sell a little merchandise, maybe do stuff for charity. We might generate 10 grand a year and give it to charity, but you're doing it because it's for the simple joy of it. So that is a long-winded way of saying, how do you get into acting? You get into acting. And you can do it in an organized way with respect to classes. You can learn online. You can take online classes. You can buy books about improv. And then just, as Nike says, just do it for no other reason than all of a sudden you start talking like Carl, and Sarah starts, look what happens. That beautiful $1 million smile just happens and she can't help it. It could be gas, but I prefer to think it's smiling.
Yeah. Well, Rob, thank you. Thank you
My
very much
pleasure.
for taking time to come on here and ask your questions. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Sarah.
Yes, it was fun.
Turtle power.
There you
Turtle
go.
Pep.
Now, Rob, I also want to take a second to talk about you've got, where did I put it here? Here we go. You've got a lovely book out called Voice Lessons.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
You were very kind to my brother and myself and my parents in that book as well.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness.
Well, as I said, I said it, and I truly can't say it enough. Your family just was always deeply kind to me. And again, it's not surprising because they were like that. That's just how they were. And it was your family and the opportunity to play in your basement. Your brother, Bob, came out with me. We kind of held each other's hands and got through the initial. It was exciting, and ignorance is absolutely bliss. But it was a little bit challenging. Nothing we didn't expect, and he helped me figure it out. And so there's no way that if I'm recounting the story of my particular life or career, there's no way the lambs could not be in it. And so it is I who am very grateful to have been, to been
It's
part
very
of
nice.
it.
But this book talks about all kinds of stuff. You went through a cancer scare too, didn't you?
Surprise, throat cancer. What's the axiom? We make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
I didn't get toe cancer. I didn't get hair cancer. I got throat cancer. So, yeah, but I'm fine. And frankly, the book is the result of that. I'd had very lovely fans throughout the years say, "Oh my God, you've done a lot of stuff. You should write a book." Well, the last thing the world needs is a celebrity biography or autobiography from a non-celebrity. And as I said, it's not false modesty, but I don't draw them and I don't write them. And my background and my life has been pretty idyllic. My parents were married for 54 years. I love my siblings. I have great friends. I haven't been to rehab yet. I've been married to the same woman for 100 years. So my story, while interesting, but primarily to me and my friends, not and I'm not a movie star. But cancer, and more specifically throat cancer, that I think made for an interesting story and maybe even a helpful one. So now, as a result of the fact that I had throat cancer, I'm in a position to help. And I'm the spokesperson for the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance. And if any of your viewers/listeners have any issues or concerns about head and neck cancers, please go to headandneck.org, and you will get all sorts of world-class, cutting-edge medical information. Because sadly, the type of cancer I had, and Mr. Kilmer, who had to have surgery and all of that, I did not. I just had a chemo and radiation. It beat the daylights out of me, but it worked. Sadly, there are going to be over 600,000 people around the world who will be diagnosed with head and neck cancer this year. So I'm in a grateful position to be their spokestune. And again, specifically because I had that type of cancer, it's allowed me to be of help. And I got to write a book in which I can talk about the lambs. So win-win.
Well, I'm glad I wore shorts today. That's all I can say. It's getting pretty deep up in here.
Thank you very much.
Now, they can get that book. They can get it at just about anywhere books are sold, correct?
The usual suspects, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. The audiobook, I've heard, is a little more entertaining. For obvious reasons, the critters show up in the audiobook. So that's kind of fun. And my son wrote and read the foreword.
He's doing a lot out there, isn't he?
He is. He's in the video game business, and folks should go to Good Vibes Gaming, GVG, Good Vibes Gaming on YouTube. He's a lovely young man, and he's all about inclusivity, and the gaming business is bigger than the movie business. And so my kid is very involved in that. His name is Ash Paulsen. And he wrote this lovely foreword for the book, and I have some really nice Hollywood folks who have given me endorsements to the book. Our buddy Mark Hamill, who you guys know not only is the savior of the universe, but he was the voice of the Joker on Batman for 20 odd years. And
wasn't he a good one too?
I'm telling you, my son is a Batman nut. And he has told me on more than a number of occasions, if I had to watch one Batman the rest of my life, it would be Batman the Animated Series with Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. But Billy West, who you guys know as Fry, and Zoidberg, and Professor Farnsworth from Futurama, and the Red M&M, and Ren and Stimpy wrote a lovely blurb for the book. And Sean Astin, who is I was just a kid, Rudy, and Sam Wise, and I was just to ask him where he had his rubber feet when he'd come to sessions. But I've had a lot of lovely people write me various wonderful blurbs for the book. So I'm really proud of it. And my co-writer Mike Fleeman did all the heavy lifting. He just asked me questions, and I have to say, I've been out here for 40 odd years now, and I'd forgotten what a really cool life I've had. I've gotten to meet some fabulous people, and
you introduced me to one person that I just love, June Foray.
Oh God!
Bob and I had lunch with her out in L.A. one day. And she comes in. She's about 4'0".
She's the size of a
table, and she just went through all of her voices for us. And she was Rocky of Rocky and Bullwinkle. She was Natasha. She was Granny of Tweety and Granny. Just any female voice you heard on a cartoon, it was June Foray.
Oh, man.
And she told us a story about how she was mugged. Somebody took her car and then beat her up.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad enough to take her car. She's 4'0". She worked till she was 95. Yeah. So she was probably 87 when she got beat up. Who does that?
I know. And I remember her talking to me about that. And she said, well, I'm just glad I'm alive. And I thought, oh my God, that's the sort of thing where my any rationality would go out the window if I met a human who would do that to another human. And our friend June, I really hesitate to think about what I'd be capable of doing. And I'm not, Jeff's a much more substantial gentleman than I. I'm about my post-cancer Rob 2.0 is 5'9" and $140.
Wow.
So this is as good as it gets for me now. I was 175 pounds when I got diagnosed, and I got down to $1.25, and I now have gotten back up to 142 or 145, and that's just as good as it's going to get. But regardless, when you talk about somebody taking a swing at June Foray, oh my goodness, or anyone in that circumstance. Right. But boy, was she something, huh? She made it to 1 month short of her 100th birthday. And I had her on my podcast. We used to do it live at the John Lovitz out at the John Lovitz Club at Universal City Walk. And I asked her to be on, and she said she couldn't have said yes quickly enough. And I said, well, what I'll do then is I'll grab my computer and my mic, and I'll just come out. I think you live in Woodland Hills, right? And she said, well, wait a minute. I thought you do your show live at a club. And I said, well, I do. I was trying to be deferential. I said, well, I do, Junie, but, and what I wanted to say was, you're 93. And I didn't. I said, I do, but I thought this would be more convenient. She said, oh, no, no, if you don't mind getting me a ride, I would rather be there. Once an actor, always an actor. And I got to tell you, Jeffrey, it was glorious. I got to sit, obviously sat next to her on stage. And it was so sweet watching this 93-year-old woman just reveling. And, the place was full. It was a couple hundred people. But of course, they all stood up, and she got I helped her up the stage, and she got there and just went like this, and it just reveling in it. And it was utterly precious to see this sweet woman deserving of all of that praise. But like I said about me, I'd be lying if I said I don't like it when people make a fuss over you. That's what you do it for. You do it, know that people have been affected. And man, how beautifully affected were they by June? So
well, it's
to have
great
her,
that you're doing what you're doing now too, with the tunes or Animaniacs traveling around.
Yeah.
That's awesome, because so often you're working in a studio, and you don't know if anybody's listening. But then you go out to these things and your Comic-Cons, and you can see that, hey, it did affect a lot of people. It was cool. Right. And you've done a hell of a thing, Rob Paulsen.
Thank you. We're doing Animaniacs in concert around the country. Last weekend, weekend before, we were in Phoenix. In fact, people can go to animaniacslive.com to see our upcoming dates. I'm going to do, on the weekend, my partner, Randy Rogel, who wrote all those great Animaniac songs, United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, and all that stuff. Or it's a great big universe, and we're all really puny. We're just tiny little specks about the size of Mickey Rooney. You might think that you're essential, try inconsequential. It's a big universe, and you're not. And all those great songs. And now we have My Friend the Brain. So we have Pinky and the Brain with Animaniacs in concert. And Randy has written specific songs and bits just for the live show.
Is Maurice traveling with you too?
Maurice travels with me, with us. And when he comes out, the audience loses their, it's fabulous. So we're going to do a weekend in January. We're going to do Cleveland, Royal Oak Music Hall in Michigan, and then 2 shows in Wisconsin on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But in any case, we're going to be at the Agora in Cleveland. So it'd be great to see you guys.
Awesome. We'll make it happen.
Great.
Rob, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I appreciate it. And you just absolutely rock. And it's so kind of you to do the show. And continued success to you, my friend.
Thank you, buddy. And please give my love to your beautiful wife. And thank you, Sarah, for sharing some of your time with us. And all right. And give my best to Becky and Bob and Bill and the whole family.
Okay. We'll see you.
All right.